Hey there, Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen, leading the movement for movement and bringing you another edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday training, where I take a strategy, a concept, a practice, something that we use to greatly beneficial effect for our autism and neurodivergent life skill athletes. Of course, what is a life skill athlete? It means that they are training in the gym, in the home, in the clinic, in the school, list goes on, in order to be stronger, safer, move better, and have more independence and a higher quality of life out there in the real world. IRL. I don't know if the kids still say that, but I just did, so too bad. And before I get started, please definitely subscribe, and even share this video with someone for whom it might make a difference if they are running fitness or even adapted PE programs for the autism and neurodivergent population of any age or ability level. And speaking of any age or ability level, that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. We are going to talk about a heady topic that has many real-world implications, and that is expectation management. So expectation management can be broad or narrowly defined depending on the context of the situation. Of course, we're going to be talking about utilizing expectation management within the confines of a fitness session for our ASD and neurodivergent athletes. The reason that expectation management is so important is because it governs everything that we do communication-wise, whether you are a professional who is communicating with a parent or family member, whether you are a parent and or family member communicating with your athlete, or whether there is this spinning centrifuge of communication going on. I don't quite know where I'm going with that, but I'm leaning back into the conversation as it remains steadfast and forward with what do we do in order to establish clear, concise communication with our athletes with a knowing expectation of what is going on, what is going to happen next, what the contingencies are, that is a big deal, and how to support our athletes so that they get the most out of the session, which in turn supports us as coaches, because then we enable our athletes to get the most out of their session. So we're getting the most out of the session, everybody's getting the most out of the session. So a couple of key things about expectation management is we want to be upfront about communication with families and with the individuals themselves. So I oftentimes will let families know what to expect during the first session, how I assess those 3 crucial skills. I have plenty of videos on that, but we use in Autism Fitness the PAC profile: physical, adaptive, and cognitive. Those are the 3 areas of skill that we cannot neglect, that we must assess and address in order to deliver the best possible programming for our athletes. So understanding how I'm going to assess and what I'm looking for without even getting too technical about it. From a physical perspective, we're looking at the exercise itself. From an adaptive perspective, we're looking at motivation and focus. And from a cognitive perspective, we're looking at communication and also the processing of information as well. And I want families that I work with, I want the athletes that I work with to know about this so that they have a little understanding about my process and where it's going to go from here. Another big component of expectation management is when answering the question of when is X going to happen. So when is the athlete going to start getting stronger? When is their movement going to start improving? When are we going to see more core stability or balance? I've done videos on those as well, demystifying some things about core stability and balance, what they actually are, what they actually are not. But you can check those out after this video. When we apply the appropriate terminology and then are able to educate along the way, then we're all talking about the same thing. And all talking about the same thing means that expectations are being managed. This comes back to something that is really important in our program, which is operationally defining or labeling exercises or activities or certain actions or different strategies that we're utilizing. So uh, I might tell a family, or I might tell an athlete that we use a lot of choice, which is true. Now, that choice in terms of expectation management is not coming into the gym and saying, what do you want to do? You can do anything. The choice is a much more narrow scope. It's, do you want to start with this push throw, or do you want to start with the overhead throw, or do you want to start with the sandbell slam? Right? So the expectation is that one of these 2 or 3 exercises will be chosen, instead of having this broad, undefined field of what do you want to do or what do you want to work on, because that expectation is completely unclear. Coming back to clarifying the expectation of what do we want to do first within that structure of a program, the other thing that I want to do is have a visual representation for my athlete, whether it's text, whether they are pictures, a combination of the two, in order for the athlete to understand the sequence of events in the session. Look at this from an empathetic standpoint. If you have a new athlete who is in an unfamiliar environment with unfamiliar equipment, with unfamiliar directions and terminology, it's going to be difficult for them to catch on immediately sometimes not, but sometimes to what the expectations are, what they're supposed to be doing, when they're supposed to be doing it, and we want to fill in all of those potential blanks. Now, of course, this varies a great deal. We can have athletes who are highly motivated coming in, they know they want to work out, they know they want to train hard, they know that they want to get bigger arms or that they want to carry a lot of weight. It does happen. So along that long gradient scale of different abilities, different goals, different communication styles, different levels of dysregulation versus an athlete being highly focused and attuned to what's going on, we need to provide a structure or a framework around all of that. And the way that we do it, again, is communicating what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what the expectation is from that athlete as well. Now, here's a very important distinction to make. In terms of expectation, it's not a dictatorship. So we want to stay away from do this, then you have to do this, then you have to do this, because even though that sets a clear expectation, it does not build a good, trusting rapport with the athlete. So the expectation also is that the athlete is going to have an active participating role in their own fitness program. That brings us back to the idea of choice, giving the athlete some autonomy about what they want to do first, what they want to do second, and what they want to do third. Another big thing that comes up often with a wide range of autism and neurodivergent athletes is the issue of, or the question about, time. I'm sure you've gotten the, when are we finished? How much time do we have left? Are we almost done? And it's easy and sometimes true that the athlete does want to be finished with the session, or they do want to be done with the exercise because it's either unpreferred, or they just want to move on to the next thing, or they're getting anxious or overwhelmed. Any of these things can contribute to that question, or more likely that statement as well. So it's nice when we can reference a schedule or reference what the program is, to give the athlete that, you ever go to the mall and you see the "you are here"? I usually can't even follow that one. That's why I don't go to malls anymore. That's not the only reason I don't go to malls anymore. There are many reasons why I don't go to malls anymore. But if I did, I might look at that map, get confused, but we don't want our athletes to get confused. So we want the program to be structured in a way that's conducive to them being able to follow it. So we can have exercise 1, exercise 2, exercise 3, exercise 4. The way I like to break it up is I'll have my power exercises first and have the athletes check that off. I'll make a little box. In fact, today, presently topical, I had an athlete who also burped before he started his power exercises. And then he proclaimed what might have been, well, definitely in the top 3 sentences that I've heard today. He said, "burp chicken." So I said, all right, I'm drawing a burp chicken right next to your power exercises. So it was power exercises. And then, of course, we could reference the burp chicken. The burp chicken actually serves as not only a reinforcer there, but a reference point, because then when we're going back to check off some of the exercises on that visual schedule, I can say, hey, burp chicken is still there, and burp chicken becomes something that's highly reinforcing for the athlete. He gets to go back to the board and see the burp chicken and say burp chicken as well, which I believe I've just said about 9 times in 3 sentences. So I'm doing great here. With expectation management, we want to make sure that we clarify a lot of the terms that sometimes get either misconstrued or kind of lost, or they're vague enough that everybody kind of pretends what they mean. And this is essential for conversations with other professionals and with families as well. Operational definitions. So when I'm talking about core work, particularly the type that we do in autism fitness programming, it's not crunches and sit-ups and direct abdominal work. I've done videos about this, demystifying the core. But when we're talking about core stability and strengthening in autism fitness programming, we're utilizing our big compound movements, our squats, our overhead presses, our push-ups, whether they are full push-ups or modified, our band rows, our heavy carries. All of these contribute to core stability, but that may not be immediately evident to families that don't normally engage in strength training or fitness activities. So I want to be abundantly clear about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how it's going to look, and how long it might take for this skill to generalize, right? All of these things are not concepts and strategies that we want to leave just open to the imagination, because then we have different definitions for looking at the same thing. I know there are many, many different cultures that have proverbs about this when we have different definitions for the exact same thing. So I like to convey the language that I'm using and what I mean in order for everybody to have the same idea about what we're looking at. And that is really powerful. Same thing with your athletes. Having the same language and being consistent in that language is another way to manage expectations. If we're calling a push throw one day a chest pass, and the next day it's a push pass, and the day after that it's what we use, the push throw, then it might be a little confusing for the athlete. But if we're consistent with that, then they understand the expectation for not only the name of the exercise, but the performance of the exercise as well. So the idea is not to leave things to chance, not to leave things to assumption, but to make sure that everybody has a similar, if not exact, frame of reference for the exercises, for the strategy, for the timeline during a session, for how long we perceive a goal is going to take. And of course, this is going to vary from athlete to athlete, and we may not figure that out in the first or even the second session, and that is totally fine. But we want to create a roadmap and an understanding of what the goals are, how we're going to get to them, and what the outcomes can and should look like. So all of these are different levels of expectation management from the perspective of a coach, so that I know the individuals that I work with and their families have a good understanding of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what the process looks like. So it is a wonderful way to not only educate, but also to have a communication line open, which ultimately is not only going to benefit the athlete, but going to benefit us as coaches and professionals as well. So I'd love to know what you think of this. I think it is philosophical but practical at the same time. Whenever there's some type of confusion or misunderstanding about a practice, I always bring it back to what expectation is not being managed appropriately or properly right now, and what can we build in, not only in my own practice, but that of our Autism Fitness Certified Pros. Oh, yes, our Autism Fitness Pro Certification Program. Go to autismfitness.com. You can learn more about how to become a an Autism Fitness Certified Pro anywhere in the world. We have 600 and counting certified pros in over 10 different countries, delivering amazingly meaningful and effective fitness and adapted PE programs to the autism population. Link is, of course, in the description below. I think I may trademark that. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Please, I'd love to know, I really would love to know what you think of this. Leave a comment in the comment section below. I'm using my hands again. And if there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday training, leave that in the comments below also. I will read it. I promise. It's me, Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen, leading the movement for movement. And when I'm not doing that, I'm reading your comments and then leading the movement for movement. Maybe that is one way that I am leading the movement for movement. I don't know. Anyway, if you want to know more, go to autismfitness.com. Thank you very much for watching.